They don't roar, they don't lead packs, and they're rarely seen. Yet somehow, they're shaping the ecological balance of entire regions. We're talking about bobcats, discreet, agile felines who are far more important than they look. Scientifically known as Lynx rufus, these mid-sized predators have become central figures in a continent that has lost many of its top hunters. Stretching from southern Canada to northern Mexico and covering nearly all 48 contiguous U.S. states, bobcats have achieved what few wild species manage to do: adapt without losing their wild nature. Their name comes from their distinctive tail, short, thick, and rounded at the tip. But that's not their only trademark. They sport coats in shades of gray or reddish-brown, marked with black spots and streaks. Their pointed ears have dark tufts, and their sharp, watchful eyes scan their surroundings with surgical precision. They typically measure 30 to 37 inches in length and stand up to 20 inches at the shoulder. Weighing up to 40 pounds, they move with impressive silence and grace. But what truly makes these felines remarkable isn't how they look. It's the ecological role they play. In areas where wolves and cougars have vanished or declined, bobcats have quietly stepped into the role of natural regulators. They don't just hunt to survive. They control invasive species, stabilize prey populations, and unknowingly help protect crops and entire forest ecosystems. A single adult bobcat can take down hundreds of rabbits each year, and that often overlooked fact is critical. Some rabbit species, including those introduced by humans, can wreak havoc on farmland and native plant life. By keeping these populations in check, bobcats act as invisible guardians, preserving soil health, vegetation, and entire natural cycles. But their diet goes far beyond rabbits. They also hunt rats, mice, and moles, making them invaluable allies for farmers who might otherwise rely on chemical pesticides. In wetland regions like the swamps of Louisiana, bobcats have been seen hunting nutria, large invasive rodents originally bred for fur, now responsible for devastating ecosystems. And yes, despite their modest size, bobcats have even been observed taking down young deer, especially in seasons where fawns are abundant and larger predators are absent. While rare, this behavior shows just how strategic and adaptable these cats are. They don't hunt for sport or ego. They respond to the environment, regulate food chains, and adapt to changes often caused by human development. And what's most surprising? They're doing all of this even in urban areas. As cities expand and consume natural habitats, many species vanish. But bobcats have done the opposite. These cats have learned to live among us, roaming alleys, backyards, empty lots, and greenbelts on the edges of urban sprawl. Cities like Chicago, Denver, Phoenix, and even parts of Los Angeles have reported bobcats hunting rats, hares, and squirrels just steps away from residential homes. Their presence in urban areas sparks debate. Some locals report losses, backyard chickens taken, pets gone missing. But in most cases, bobcats avoid humans and focus on the small animals that thrive in man-made environments. In practice, they help control pests that cause far greater economic and health damage than the occasional incident. Rats, for example, are disease carriers and multiply rapidly in cities. That's why in places like Chicago, where rodent infestations are a chronic issue, the quiet return of bobcats is starting to be seen differently. But their impact goes even deeper than what they kill. They influence the behavior of their prey, and that may be even more important. Studies in rural zones show that when bobcats are active in an area, animals like rabbits and rodents become more cautious. They avoid open spaces, feed less, and spend more time in hiding. In other words, even without hunting constantly, bobcats help reduce the damage caused to crops, gardens, and forests. This indirect influence is what ecologists call the landscape of fear effect, when the mere perception of danger alters the entire balance of an ecosystem. But bobcats aren't just ground-level predators. Though they prefer hunting on the ground, they're excellent climbers, capable of reaching nests and preying on invasive birds like European starlings and house sparrows. species that aggressively compete with native birds for food and nesting space. These birds, introduced to North America during the 20th century, have contributed to the decline of many native populations. Thanks to their versatility, bobcats help curb this silent invasion, restoring balance to bird communities without anyone even realizing. And here's an important clarification. Many people confuse bobcats with other cats of the same genus, especially the Canadian lynx. While they are closely related, there are clear differences. The bobcat has a white underside at the tip of its tail, while the lynx's tail tip is entirely black. Bobcats also have shorter legs, a more narrow face, and are far more adaptable to warmer or urbanized environments. This distinction matters because many photos and videos shared online actually show the larger Eurasian lynx, not the American bobcat. But when we talk about Lynx rufus, the true bobcat, we're talking about a species that has thrived not through brute strength, but through intelligence, stealth, and remarkable adaptability. In many parts of North America, large predators have vanished. Wolves have been wiped out locally. Cougars have retreated to isolated territories. Bears have disappeared from open plains. And into the void left by giants stepped a feline no taller than 18 inches and claimed the throne. The bobcat, discreet, quiet, and rarely seen, has become a new kind of apex predator. Not because it's the biggest, but because it's present, because it adapts, because it acts with precision. In parts of Florida, for example, bobcats have been recorded hunting invasive Burmese pythons, a species that threatens native wildlife and destabilizes entire food chains. In the Pacific Northwest, there have even been rare sightings of bobcats fishing for salmon during their seasonal runs, taking advantage of gaps left by the disappearance of larger predators. This kind of behavior proves that the bobcat isn't just some decorative member of American fauna. It's an ecological problem solver, one that responds to environmental changes and adjusts in real time. It might not have the imposing presence of a bear or the mystique of a wolf, but its effectiveness is quiet and constant. And while some may see these cats as threats to backyard chickens or household pets, the ecosystem sees them as forces of balance. They don't hunt chickens because they're bad, they do it when the environment around them becomes unbalanced. The presence of rodents, exposed nests, urban waste, and poorly secured properties creates opportunities. And the bobcat, ever opportunistic, takes them. But perhaps their most valuable contribution is the preservation of natural complexity. Bobcats don't dominate ecosystems through force. They regulate invisible chains, shift behaviors, pressure prey to move, to migrate, to hide. And in doing so, they allow native species, plants, and even microorganisms to survive, without being overwhelmed by a single invasive population. Even in degraded environments, the bobcat serves as a natural restorer, a bridge between a wild past and an uncertain future of cities and forests. And for those who question the phrase pest control, as if that reduces the bobcat to a biological tool, it's worth remembering. The bobcat isn't nature's employee. It is nature. Its predatory instincts don't serve humans. They serve life itself. The presence of bobcats shouldn't be measured by the number of rabbits or rats they kill, but by the amount of chaos they quietly prevent. Because where bobcats live, there's less need for pesticides, fewer ecological collapses, more room for balance, more chances for the planet to self-correct, even amid concrete, asphalt, and endless urban sprawl. The bobcat is a predator that doesn't inspire fear. It commands respect. It doesn't dominate with brute strength. It dominates through presence, intelligence, and precision. And maybe, in a world as loud and chaotic as ours, that's the truest form of leadership. Acting silently, but transforming everything around you.